Good afternoon. We're here in Santa Clara, Zone 9A, and it's June 13th, 2020. So do a quick garden tour. So starting off first here all the way on the left, we have Galahad tomato, and it's been doing pretty well. It's a determinate kind, so it's probably not going to grow too much larger than this. Has maybe about 20 tomatoes. You can take a quick look inside here. It's been growing pretty well. Some aphid issues, and we also have a couple of nice ripe tomatoes. So hopefully these taste pretty good. So moving on to the left, we have this russet potato that we planted from a potato that we bought from the store that had sprouted. Doesn't look like it's doing too well, but I'm just going to leave it to die out, and then we'll see if we got some tomatoes. Above it here, we have our dwarf mulberry, which I just trimmed because it's growing very high. Doesn't look very dwarf, but it's doing well. Besides that, we have our green beans. So I already took out the bush beans all the way at the bottom, but the bulb beans are still doing pretty well. So this is a variety called Fortex, and it has pretty long beans. So you can see an example over here of what it looks like. So pretty long. So we'll see how these taste. We haven't yet tasted them. It's doing pretty well. Besides that, we have our cucumbers, which are doing okay as well. A lot of the flowers are falling off, but we've been getting 1 or 2 cucumbers a day. So you can see one that's almost mature over here. There's 2 kinds in here. One is called Greenlight and one is called Iznik. Besides that, we have our 3 tomato plants, Sungold, Sakura, and another Sungold, all doing pretty well. Beneath them, we have our peppers, which are just going very high. But we have a good amount of peppers on them, so I'm excited to see how these peppers taste. So here's a couple of examples. These are supposedly good frying Italian peppers that are sweet. You can see above here, Sungold's doing pretty well. These trusses at the bottom have a lot of tomatoes, and it's growing up pretty high. Sakura as well always does well for me. Has a lot of production. Has kind of very short inner nodes, so it has very closely spaced trusses. So that's very nice. It's doing well. Beyond that is our cherry tree, which is in 2nd year. No cherries this year, but it's growing pretty well. Besides that, we have more cucumbers. These aren't doing as well as the ones that are in the raised bed, but we've gotten a couple of cucumbers off of them. Besides that is our Fantastico tomato, which we've tasted. It's okay. I still prefer the Sakura and the Sungold, but it is very prolific. We've been harvesting quite a few. So it looks like it has like maybe 200 tomatoes on here. It's also determinate, so its time is probably maybe another month or 2 and it will get pulled out. But we've gotten a good amount of tomatoes. Besides that, we have our rose. It's doing well. Here we have this small raised bed, which is getting way too crowded. It's golden and raspberry, which has not done well this year, but there's a few flowers starting on here, but they should have been much earlier. So it took a long time for this thing to break out of dormancy and actually get going. I think there was some insect damage. And then we have the first year canes behind over here. So these will also flower, but much later. So we'll see how they do. Down here we have a flower that's not in bloom yet, but it's getting ready. Behind that is a zinnia, just trying to live in that jungle. Some more canes from the raspberry. And then here we have a Diva cucumber, which is one of my favorite cucumbers. And it's kind of sprawling out over here. So you can see it has a few small cucumbers on here. And I've been kind of pruning it. I don't want to let it get too crazy so that it overwhelms this bed. And some strawberries, which are very hard for us to get any because the insects seem to grab them before we do. Besides that, more cucumbers, which are trying to get above this massive tree. As you can see here, it's our apricot tree, which always just goes crazy high, even with summer pruning. And besides, that's the fig tree. Let's get a better view of the trees here. So we have our Gala apple tree. Tried to bag some apples to see how they do versus the ones that are not bagged. Last year we had a pretty bad problem with the codling moths. So try different things to see how we can control that better. Besides that is our apricot tree, which is, we started to harvest 1 or 2 off here, so you can see it's doing well. This side isn't as ripe as the other side. The strawberries in the tower are doing well. So I've been tasting more of the Sequoia, which I really don't like. I don't know if it's because we're overwatering, but it's very tasteless. But the Albion is doing pretty well. The Mare de Bois, I think they're just too small. They're not healthy enough in this bed. Maybe too much insect pressure. But they're just okay. But I'm hoping that they're going to taste better when they get bigger. This is the pepper pretty and sweet, which has these small sweet peppers. Tastes pretty good. I think it actually makes really good on like a skewer of kebab or something. And lettuce is doing okay. So again, this is the rest of that apricot tree. So good amount of apricots. That's good. So it's doing well. Down here we have our overwintered Lunchbox pepper, which has a good amount of peppers on here. So it's doing well. See at the bottom. Besides here we have our gardenia, which is now in full bloom. Smells pretty good. And besides here we have our Southmoon blueberry, which we've been picking. So we actually just picked this morning, so there aren't very many ripe berries, but you can see there's a good amount of berries still left, but we probably harvested maybe half of them so far. It seems to be doing pretty well. We had some really hot weather this month, so we got some tip burn on there, but I've removed those leaves mainly. Besides that here is we have our heritage red raspberry, which hasn't worked out well since planting it maybe a year and a half ago. So I'm hopeful this year will be better. So they're growing, but the canes aren't very thick. So I'm still a little bit worried about its health, but we'll see. And besides here, we have a newly planted tomato. This is a dwarf tomato called Rosella purpura, which I've heard tastes very good. It's a dwarf indeterminate, so it shouldn't get more than 3-4 feet high, but I'm excited to see how that one tastes. The strawberries here and the small containers are starting to pick up, starting to get some strawberries off of them. The lemon tree is doing okay. Has some lemons set, maybe 3 or 4, but it's also flowering again. Besides that, we have our pomegranate, which is has flowers. I haven't seen any female flowers yet, so I don't know if it's going to fruit this year, but it's doing well. It's growing, so that's good. And here's another blueberry bush. This is called Sunshine Blue. It has some very small berries. So I planted some strawberries next to it to try to make use of the space while I got bigger, but they've gone huge. And they're not actually producing strawberries. I don't know what's going on. It's like almost like they're competing with the blueberry. And they just keep making leaves. So hopefully they'll give some strawberries eventually. I've actually been pruning the leaves a little bit to give the blueberry a chance. And then down here we have Bronze Beauty lettuce. This is a very good lettuce. I probably need to cut it today pretty badly, otherwise it might bolt on me. But I really like the taste of it. There's some more romaine lettuce over here. So that's about it for our garden for this tour. Thank you.